The NBA MVP race, a two-man race, which seems like to be the whole season between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic. A lot of conflicting opinions, honestly, of who should be the frontrunner right now, although Vegas seems to think it's not very close at all. Shai has a very sizable lead right now in terms of the betting odds. Steve, like I said, a lot of people divided on who should be deserving of this MVP. Right now, who do you have as the frontrunner, and who is more deserving at this time?
Honestly, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that he is clear cut the best player in the league this season. He is the most deserving of MVP, and here's why. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander currently is averaging 32, 5, and 6 with a block and 2 steals. Jokic is averaging 29, 13, and 10 with a block and 2 steals as well. So their stats are somewhat lopsided, but we know that Jokic puts up numbers. That's part of what he does. It's we've known about this for 3 years now. So seeing a stat line like that for Jokic isn't something that pops off the sheet to me immediately. Outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, their second best player is Jalen Williams. And their third best player to me is Chet Holmgren. That creates the core three for that team. Now, this season, Chet has been dealing with significant injury issues. He's only played 20 games of the season. He went out on November 10th and came back on February 7th. They played 40 games in that span. They went 33-7 without their third best player on their team. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous had to elevate in order to compensate for the loss of an influential player on their team like that. Somebody who is also, he's averaging 2.8 blocks per game this season. He's a defensive anchor down low for them as well. Currently, right now, the top 8 teams in the NBA, as far as where they place in their individual conferences, are the Cavs, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Bucks in the East. And then it is the Thunder, the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Grizzlies. So when you look at how the Thunder and the Nuggets played against the top 4 teams in each conference, the Thunder are 11-4 against those teams so far this season. The Nuggets are 4-11. To take it one step further, I mentioned that Chet had been out that significant period of time this season. In that stretch, against the best teams in the league, the Thunder still went 7-2 against those top 8 teams without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Without Chet Holmgren. So it just shows and adds to the little things that are going to separate such a tight race, which we don't believe it's tight, but there's a lot of division right now. So when you look at the little things that separate them, and a lot of that is the head-to-head matchups against the best teams in the league, the Thunder and Shai Gilgeous clearly have the advantage.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think it's particularly close. I also think it's SGA, and I think right now we are confusing MVP with best player in the league, which has not been a new thing that's happened for multiple years. And someone needs to come to me and make the argument for Jokic without using a numbers-only argument. Because I understand Jokic is doing outlandish things right now with his regular season stats, potentially probably going to be the first center ever to finish the season averaging a triple-double. Super impressive. Numbers usually only get you your first MVP, and then you have to do more after that. So we gave Jokic his first MVP because it was like, wow, look at what this guy's doing. We've never seen it. It's crazy. Then a second MVP we gave to him because it was like, yo, the Nuggets are in a bad position, but he is still going crazy. We think they're going to be the best team, the best contender because of purely him. And then his third MVP, we kind of felt like it was just, I would say his third is his most, or possibly only, legitimate MVP. SGA right now, though, the difference is Giannis is carrying this team, which has a good argument, but Shai is the core of this Oklahoma City team. They are not going to be the same at all without SGA. And we usually, Steve, you and I specifically, usually use the argument of if you swapped player A and player B, which team gets better and how would they affect both sides? This is the first time in a long time that I think of that example, and it's almost a wash to me. Like, I truly don't believe either side gets exponentially better or worse. I don't think you put Jokic in OKC with that young team. He does not have the leadership or the intangible qualities to rally and build and, like I said, be the core of a team like Shai is. I also think if you put Shai on this Nuggets team, better fit than Jokic in OKC, but I still don't love the feel and vibe. Like, I think Denver has really rallied around Jokic, and a part of their identity is the fact of, like, we are going to prove that this guy is what we truly believe he is, and everyone's saying he's not. But that's besides the point. What I think is really important and really telling, and what I think is the number one argument for Shai in this MVP race, is that he has a college team as the number one contenders in the NBA. So the Oklahoma City Thunder, the average age of that team is 24 years old. For reference, I am 25. The OKC average age is 24 years old. This is some teams or some records of other teams who have had an average age of 24 years old. The 2011 Timberwolves, they went 17-65. The 2014 Magic, they went 23-59. The 2015 76ers, they went 18-64. So we have seen throughout history that teams with this age and this roster construction are not good. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has them as the number one contenders in the NBA. And if you sit back and you think, how are the Thunder that heavy of betting favorites? Your only and immediate answer is SGA. And once again, we are confusing MVP for best player in the league. No one is saying, and I don't think anyone is saying SGA is better than Jokic.
Flashback.
It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think that he is clear-cut the best player in the league this season.
I don't think he is. I wouldn't want anyone saying that. Jokic right now is still the best player in the NBA. But that does not mean he is the most valuable player in the NBA. And also, one thing we just always happen to coincidentally forget when it comes to the Nikola Jokic MVP argument is defense. He cannot play it. He's never been good at it. SGA obviously far and above a defender that Jokic is. So, Steve, I just don't know how anyone can sit back and look at everything and, like I said, without looking at numbers, because we've seen in years past with MVP arguments that numbers do not matter. It doesn't matter how well-rounded or how eye-popping your numbers are. That's never been what it's been about. So I don't know how anyone can look at this season and look at what SGA has done with this Thunder team and not think he has not been the most valuable player in the NBA.
Yeah, I really never looked at it from a perspective of how have other teams at this age group done historically. And that really...
I missed a team. The 2006 Hawks, they also went 26-56.
The fact that he's taking this young core group of guys and has them with an 11-game lead in the West. The conference who is, in my opinion, the best conference in basketball. And now you're talking about a guy who has elevated his team to the top of that list. Yeah, you really brought up some good points that are some brain thinkers, some real. It hurt my brain to look at it from that perspective, but it's accurate.
Also, I'd like to point out OKC is leading in their head-to-head matchups, and you would think a team that young, like in any other sport, in any other situation with a team that young, you would think they're rebuilding, they're looking to next year, they need to add a vet, like something like that. Again, this is not the case for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Do we believe in them to win? I mean, we obviously don't, but clearly Vegas does. Clearly there are other people who believe that they are just so good that they will will themselves there regardless of the precedent of the young team. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how you can look at the season in totality and not think SGA has not been the most valuable player in the league. Listen to the sound. I listen to the sound.